Hi, everybody. Good morning. Hi, Andra.
Hello, hello.
All right. Well, I'm glad you all are here. Happy summer. We're going to get started in our Understanding and Navigating Academic Notice webinar. Thank you for your patience. We always allow a couple of extra minutes for folks to just filter into the room, into our Zoom webinar. So I'm going to go over just a few notes and I want to reference them so I don't forget anything here. And we're glad you prioritize this time for yourself to hear more about the academic standing of academic notice. This Zoom webinar is a result, you received an invitation to this Zoom webinar as a result of your spring quarter grades. You are either in academic notice, academic standing for the first time, or maybe you're continuing on academic notice in this process. We hope that this webinar is going to give you information on how to seek advising, get back into good academic standing, and get connected with campus resources. We hope that you're able to reach out to your major advisor or other campus resources as soon as possible, and we'll give you information on how you can meet with the dean's office this summer as well. Before we dive into our content today, I know many of us have been using Zoom for a long time now, but just as a reminder, since this is a webinar, your cameras are off and you are all muted. The chat is available for you to communicate with the chat is available for you to communicate with our staff. We do have some advisors that are helping out today in our Q&A. So we have multiple advisors that will be answering any questions in the Q&A. That's Erin, Joe, Alina, and I believe we might have another advisor in here as well, Ashley. So all of them will be in the Q&A room. And so if you have questions, please use the Q&A function instead of the chat whenever possible for them to be able to share those questions with each other. So and then also there is a raise your hand feature on Zoom, but we're not going to be using that today. So our content should take about, we'll go all the way through the hour. So we should be finishing up by noon. So about 40 to 45 minutes. And we're hoping to be able to save some time at the end for any last minute questions that you all may have. We're also going to be using some anonymous polls during this webinar. So those will pop up on your device. Sometimes they don't pop up if you have some, security settings, and that's okay. Andra and I will explain the question that is being asked. If it does pop up on your device, we encourage all of you to participate in this just so that we can have that community experience and learn from each other. In the meantime, we want you to look into maybe a pen and paper, keep some notes handy, or your phone to take screenshots, or write yourself a note so that you can follow up on the information that we're providing for you today. As you may be aware, this webinar is being recorded, and if all goes well, we plan on posting this on our website in the academic difficulty page under academic policies and regulations for advising. So we're going to turn off our cameras, so you should continue to see us. We will actually turn off our cameras after this next slide. So a little bit about us. My name is Lily Bynes. I use she, her, they pronouns. I'm originally from San Diego County. I went to school at Chico State. I lived in Oakland in the Bay Area for a brief time working at UC Berkeley, but I've been at UC Davis as an advisor for many years now, over 20 years that I've worked here in the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. This is a picture of my little chiquito who's about as tall as I am now, but he's definitely not that little anymore. And we enjoy going to local museums and hiking in Northern California area whenever we get a chance. So nice to meet y'all today. Andra?
Thanks, Lily. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all. My name is Andra Soria. I use she, her pronouns. A little bit about me is that I have two hometowns. So my primary hometown, which is where I grew up, is Mexico City. So you see a picture there of me at the Pyramid of Teotihuacan. And then my second hometown is Tucson, Arizona. That is where I went to college and did my master's. So I went to the University of Arizona. And you see there a desert. It's a beautiful place, very hot, but very beautiful. And then I have two dogs. I have an Australian Shepherd named Barry Allen. And then I have a Corgi Healer mix named Mina. They are very precious and I love them very much. And then if you are into astrology, I'm a Pisces.
Thank you, Andra. And again, shout out to our other advisors that are in the Q&A. So, and in fact, while we're getting started with our next portion, for you all to test out, make sure you know where the Q&A function is. Please find the Q&A button, the question and answer button on your device, and tell us, where are you watching us from? Where in the world are you? Where, however you want to answer that question. And so Andra and I are going to go off camera and give some shout outs to those of you that find the Q&A function and let us know. Type in your response. Where are you at? All right. And we're going to go off camera so we can see where you all are coming from. So shout out to our first responder here, Washington State. Awesome. So again, find the Q&A function and let us know where you're watching us from. Just take another minute on that. Oh, somebody found the chat. You're in China. Okay. Now, the student that mentioned that you're in China, if you can look in your Zoom settings, there should be a button there for Q&A and see if you can find the Q&A. It's fine if you're putting it in chat, if that's the only way your device is allowing you, but our advisors are going to be answering questions in the chat, in the Q&A function. So the question answer. So lots of folks in Davis. Those of you that are in Davis, Summer Sessions is doing some social events. So look on their website for more information. LA, Houston, Texas, awesome. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to summer. As I mentioned, our office has sent out notifications regarding spring quarter grades and units. The messaging from our office has asked you to take action for advising since you have entered the process or you are continuing the process of academic notification. Some of you may have already talked with the dean's office or your major advisor to discuss your progress towards the end of last quarter, or maybe you were already in the academic notification process in prior quarters. Some of you may have even started to use campus resources to support your future success. That's great if you've already taken action, but it's never too late. And even during summer, you can access many of our resources while you are away from the campus. We hope attending today's webinar will continue these discussions, get you started exploring and using campus resources to help support you returning to good academic standing. And lastly, as I mentioned before, we want this presentation to prompt you to seek advising from your major advisor and the dean's office based on your most recent grades, your upcoming quarter classes in the fall, and discussing what your plans are for this summer. It's still not too late to enroll in classes in particular areas here in UC Davis, other UCs, or maybe community colleges. The goal is to help you get back into good standing as soon as possible. So here are our goals for today. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to have some short polls during the workshop, and as moderators, we will see your responses, but your responses to the polls are going to be anonymous to all the other participants. No one will be able to see your response attached to your name or ID or anything. Remember that there are different ways to ask questions. Some of you did find the chat, but we would like you to use the Q&A function so that other folks can help out with that are helping us out today. We'll go ahead and get started with one of our first questions.
So let's check what your basic knowledge is about academic notice. So there is going to be a poll that pops up on your screen very soon. And so we want to know what you think. So what is academic notice on the basis of GPA? Is it A, academic notice is below a 1.5 GPA? Is it B, below a 2.0, but above a 1.5? Is it C, below a 2.0? Or D, I don't know, which is also totally okay.
Okay, it looks like most of our participants have responded. I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll.
Awesome. Thanks, Lily. So yes, most folks answered B, which is below a 2.0, but above a 1.5, and you would be correct. If you are not sure what a grade point average is, or how it is calculated, please discuss this in your next advising appointment, and you can also review that information in OASIS. So there is a tab that says GPA charts and tools in the and then there's a subsection that's called GPA calculator, and you can mess with your grades there to figure out what your GPA is. So now we're going to have a second poll. What is academic notice on the basis of units? So minimum progress. So in order to be in good academic standing for minimum progress, a student must A, pass at least 15 units each quarter, B, pass an average of at least 12 units in all full-time quarters, C, pass an average of 13 units each quarter, or D, I don't know.
I'm so glad you all are participating in these questions.
Me too. And again, it's okay if you don't know. That's why we are asking these questions. And that's why we're having this webinar.
Okay, it looks like about the same have participated in this poll, so I'll go ahead and end the poll.
Thanks, Lily. And yes, so most folks answered B, pass an average of at least 12 units in all full-time quarters, and you would be correct. This average will be measured at the end of each quarter. And so students should set a goal of completing an average of about 15 units per quarter so they can potentially graduate in 4 years. Or if you were a junior transfer student, you might be able to complete your degree in 2 years, but that also doesn't factor in summer and other classes. So we can discuss more details about minimum progress in future slides. So for both circumstances of academic notice for grades or academic notice for units, there are different stages to that process. So first, we're going to review academic notice for grades, so GPA. Academic notice is when you have been in the first quarter of the process, so it's the first time that you are in that range of 1.5 to 2.0. And that your previous quarter, you were in good academic standing, so you had a 2.0 or above. Then academic notice continued is when you have been in that notice process for 2 consecutive quarters. So again, the key is consecutive. So if you were in good academic standing, then you went into academic notice, then you went back into good academic standing, and you went back into academic notice, then the process starts all over again. Then subject to dismissal, that is when you have been in the academic notice process for 3 consecutive quarters and your grades have not returned to good standing. So again, the 2.0 has to be in the quarter that just ended and your overall UC grade point average. So those 2 different GPAs. It doesn't always take 3 quarters to get to subject to dismissal. It can also happen after just 1 or 2 quarters. That just depends on each student's circumstances. There are several factors that can cause subject to dismissal. And so if you have questions about that, that is important that you discuss in your next advising appointment with the dean's office. And more information can also be found in the general catalog, but again, each student situation can be so individual and specific that we really recommend that you come and talk to one of us about it. If your UC GPA is below a 2.0, it is important again that you meet with us, that you meet with the dean's office to talk about strategies to get back into good academic standing to return to that 2.0 or above. And then if you received any D or F grades, you should also discuss with an academic advisor the importance of repeating those classes to help improve your UC GPA. So it is typically best to repeat D or F grades right away, but each student situation may differ. So we always recommend that you meet with the dean's office and also with your major advisor to find out what is best for you and your situation.
So let's talk about minimum progress. The university requires an average of 12 units for each full-time quarter, and minimum progress is checked at the end of each regular quarter, fall, winter, and spring. Any units completed during quarters where a student is approved for a part-time registration or a waiver of minimum progress from the Student Disability Center, though, are not included in the minimum progress calculation. Part-time registration must be petitioned through the registrar's office, and the waiver of minimum progress can be discussed with the Student Disability Center to see if you qualify. Be careful and don't overload your units just to meet the minimum progress requirement in one quarter. Talk with the dean's office and your major advisor about strategies to meet this requirement. It's really important to maintain your UC GPA. Part of the planning may include taking classes this summer or finding 1-2 unit seminars to help you meet unit requirements in upcoming quarters. Every student's case may be different. Be aware that during regular quarters, you need a simultaneous enrollment petition in order to enroll at UC Davis and a community college at the same time. But during the summer, you do not need special permission to enroll at other schools during the summer. You could also be simultaneously enrolled during the summer with UC Davis and a community college. But again, no petition is needed in summer terms. Simultaneous enrollment, when you do request a petition during fall, winter, or spring quarters, this is only permitted for students that are in good academic standing. So if during the regular academic year you are ever interested in enrolling in a community college, you should consult with your major and the dean's office to find out if you are eligible and what classes you could take. Depending on your UC GPA right now, you may want to consider enrolling at a UC in the summer. Talk to an advisor on how you can use community college or UC summers to help you return to good academic standing based on your situation. We may advise you to take a couple of quarters to get back to good standing for minimum progress because we don't want you to overload on units, and that's okay. It's better to spread the units out over a few quarters instead of digging a hole deeper for yourself on your GPA, because remember that we want you to intentionally take your time, but do it with a plan developed between you and an advisor when it comes to minimum progress. Each student situation can be different, and so we want to discuss your specific circumstances of what's going on in your life, work, commuting, classes, all of those things, and what your academic record looks like. So let's focus on the different stages to the academic notice process for minimum progress. Andra explained to you the left side here pertaining to the grades. For units, minimum progress has somewhat of a similar model. Academic notice is when you have spent one quarter not meeting the 12-unit average, and your previous quarter was in good standing. Academic notice continued is when you've been in the academic notice process for 2 consecutive quarters, and you have still not restored your 12-unit average for all full-time quarters at UC Davis. Your final academic notice for units is your 3rd consecutive quarter of not achieving the 12-unit average in your total full-time quarters at UC Davis, and that requires an appointment with the dean's office. And then the last one is being subject to dismissal, and this is when you have spent you're in your 4th consecutive quarter at UC Davis not restoring the 12-unit average, and you may be dismissed from the university. We strongly encourage students to discuss a year-long academic plan. As you can see, you can spread those units out over this process and use that strategy to help you meet minimum progress while also protecting your grades. So sometimes it's helpful to see a visual of what this might look like, because when we do talk about spreading the units out over an academic year, perhaps you might have found yourself in academic difficulty with minimum progress after fall quarter. Maybe you only passed 11 units. You would be on academic notice. Perhaps in winter quarter, you only took 12 units, and so you're still missing that one extra unit that you didn't pass in fall. In spring quarter, you maintained your 12-unit enrollment, still haven't made up that extra unit that you needed. And so you would have received a message from our office that would require you to meet with our office as that final academic notice. During that advising appointment, or maybe even presently being an academic notice for the first time, we would encourage you to take units over the summertime. By completing units for minimum progress and completing the classes and grades as required, by the end of fall, you would be in good academic standing with the 12-unit average and maintaining a 2.0 in your quarter and UC cumulative for good standing. So you can use multiple quarters for minimum progress. And again, this example is talking about units only, not grades.
I'm going to show you here that achieving good academic standing can be a process. And it is important to evaluate what has brought you to this spot in your academics. So when you came to UC Davis, you might have come with expectations of doing well. And sometimes unexpected challenges or situations that are outside of your control can occur. The transition to UC Davis can sometimes be harder than anticipated. As you probably know, the quarter system is super fast paced. UC Davis is a large university. There's a lot of resources, and it could be a little bit overwhelming. So it is not uncommon to feel behind or even unsure where to go for help. There are a lot of different departments, a lot of different offices, a lot of different resources, especially in our college. We have a decentralized advising system, so it can be hard sometimes if you have a question to know who to go for help. But also anything from study habits, personal or family issues that come up, if your financial situation changes, or if you become ill or injured, all of those things can have an impact on your academic performance. Here on the screen, you can see some of the common reasons why students might have faced academic difficulty. So another thing, especially if this is your first year at UC Davis, maybe being far away from home has been hard. Again, your physical and emotional health is hard to manage sometimes if you're also working. Maybe you will have a very overwhelming and very heavy course schedule. Those are all things that could be impacting your academics. And so maybe by now you have begun to reflect on those academics and the challenges that you might have had this last academic year. So now it's the time to really reflect on that and also figure out if there are any new habits that you may be able to adopt to support you being successful in future quarters. So take the next few seconds to select from a list that will pop up on your screen what you believe was the main reason that your quarter or quarters did not go as well as you had hoped. Remember, your responses are anonymous. Some of the options, for example, are work or employment challenges. Sometimes we need to work in order to support ourselves. Financial challenges, maybe time management, study habits. Again, the quarter system is really fast paced. So maybe the things that you were doing before coming to UC Davis, you might have to rework a little bit. Maybe it's academic advising, or maybe your home responsibilities and your family challenges. We acknowledge also that you're not just a student, you're also a family member, you're also a partner, a friend, you're also an employee, you're also a member of a community. So you are not only a student, so that is not your only responsibility that you have to manage in your day-to-day. So there might be many different reasons why things didn't go according to plan. As we see here on the contributing factors, a lot of folks cited time management or study habits as maybe a reason why they struggled in spring quarter, but also things like family challenges, physical, mental, emotional health, that is very real, especially if you have a rough patch during the quarter system. It takes a long time to get better, and then the quarter has gone by before you know it. Also, your class schedule, course selection, there are quite a few folks who indicated that one as well. that is also something to consider when making your academic plan, when making your schedule. And then it's important that you meet with your major advisor and with the dean's office to talk about having a balanced schedule. So something that will set you up for success and not overwhelm you too much. But thank you, everybody. Thank you for participating. Thank you for being vulnerable and answering these questions. We know that it can be hard sometimes to do so. But as you know, we know that you can get through this this process of academic notice and return to good academic standing with a reasonable and realistic plan. So there are a variety of campus resources to support and help you. It is important that you seek advising so you know your options. So I talked about meeting with the dean's office, also meeting with your major advisor to make sure that you have a plan that feels comfortable and that sets you up for success. We also talked about the factors that might have impacted your classes. So consider any changes or any things that you may need to do to address and create a plan of action to help you reach your academic and your personal goals. Remember that you are not alone in this process. There are many resources and there are many advising options to help. So be aware that while you are not in good academic standing, you can't change your major, and you also cannot change letter graded classes from pass, no pass to, or from letter grade classes to pass, no pass on Schedule Builder. So if a class is offered as pass, no pass grading, so as a default, then you can take those classes, like some seminars, for example. You just can't change a letter graded class to pass, no pass. And then if at any time during the quarter you start to struggle in your classes, or if life happens that starts to affect your academic progress, please seek advising from the dean's office to explore your options for the quarter. Because of the pace of the quarter, it is important that you reach out for support when things start to feel a bit uncertain and not feel like you can just power through and wait until it gets really bad or wait until the end of the quarter when it's too late to do anything. Many students may experience academic notice at some point in their undergraduate experience, and it's totally normal. It's part of the process sometimes, and we are here to support you through that process.
So in the next few slides, we're going to go over some campus resources. And again, the summertime is a great time to start utilizing these resources, familiarizing yourself with their websites. Many of them, such as the Academic Assistance and Tutoring Center, already have information up for fall, as well as summer information. So hopefully you have either your phone handy to take some screenshots or some pen and paper to take down some notes as how this would pertain for yourself. So on your screen right now, we want to show you two particular websites, the Academic Assistance and Tutoring Centers, as I mentioned, and then the Office of Educational Opportunity and Enrichment Services. So this is www.opportunity.ucdavis.edu, and they have a wide variety. This is actually not an exhaustive list of resources, but they have a wide variety of resources offered for students. And so here in this box, you could see things like success coaching and learning strategies. Some students describe this as like study skills workshops. You came to UC Davis as a very strong student already, but maybe you may want to consider tweaking those semester habits, or maybe those community college habits or high school habits. You may need to tweak those to fit into the quarter system and the style of learning and teaching here at UC Davis. So take a look at the success coaching and learning strategies that are offered through this particular office. They do have one-on-one appointments available for students as well. For success coaching, pre-graduate and law advising, as well as the learning strategies offer workshops. Sometimes beginning with the end in mind can help you think about ways to formulate your process. So if you're thinking about going to pursue a master's degree or law school, using some of the advising from pre-grad and law might help you set goals for your current classes. Not listed here, but on the same topic is Health Professions Advising, hpa.ucdavis.edu. Health Professions Advising provides all of our pre-health profession advising. So speaking with them as well as the pre-grad advising, those two different offices can help you set goals for the classes that are needed and the grades that you need in order to apply for those schools in the future. Transfer Reentry Center, Veteran Success Center, Educational Opportunity Program, also known as EOP, and Guardian Scholars. Those are all community-based offices that serve special populations. You may already know that you're a part of those populations, or maybe by visiting their websites, you could see if you could be eligible for their services. Sometimes having community on campus can be a big piece that can be part of your success. I'll say a little bit more about that in our next slide. Transitioning to the tutoring.ucdavis.edu, tutoring is oftentimes just thought of for math and chemistry or things like that, but there's also writing support services amongst the math and science resources that are available. So, and also if you're taking any classes this summer, there is tutoring available through our specialists. During the regular academic year, there's also drop-in tutoring services, which many students are familiar with, but there's also YouTube videos that were recorded for our students taking some of the math and science. And then the writing support services is available not only for papers that you have in your classes, but also maybe for scholarship applications that you might be thinking about. So those are just some of the resources we wanted to cover on this slide. And then part of building community, it's really important to build your UC Davis family and network of support. Some students, may think that you have to identify in a certain area in order to be visiting these offices. And while some of their resources may be specific to certain topics, such as services for international students and scholars, SISS, perhaps there would be additional resources and services available for you in all of these spaces. So just because you might not identify of the African diaspora of student success, you may not be aware that they offer tutoring in that space as well in a more smaller environment. So visit these websites, and I'm going to put in the chat the link to this particular page. Through Student Affairs, these are just offices and resources that are available for all students to help with retention, that means staying in school, and support for you to have additional support while you're a student here at Davis. So again, you are welcome to look at all of these different centers and see the variety of resources and programming that they offer the entire campus.
Also, overall wellness is important. So the Student Health and Counseling Services offers counseling support services that are free of cost to you, and they offer group counseling, peer counseling, and one-on-one short therapy. In addition to that, we also have a satellite counselor that holds hours physically in the dean's office. Her name is Olivia. She's wonderful. And our advising team can provide a direct referral if you're interested in speaking with her. We also have a community advising network here at UC Davis. So counselors in a variety of student locations all over campus, sometimes meeting a counselor in other locations outside of North Hall or SHCS in a location that students are familiar with can help students feel more supported. So like, for example, EOP or El Centro, or any place that maybe you already frequent, you maybe feel more comfortable meeting with somebody there instead of going to a place that you never go to or that feels unfamiliar or uncomfortable. But the Student Health and Counseling Services also offers food resources and online mental health resources. So if you have questions or are interested in those, please see their website for more information. And also many things can impact your ability to focus on classes, and holistic wellness is not just physical and emotional. Sometimes students may have challenges with some basic needs as listed on this slide. If your basic needs like finances, food, housing, mental wellness, if those things aren't being taken care of, then of course you're not going to be worried about your academics because that comes second to these things, the basic needs. So Aggie Compass and its website includes a basic needs assistant request form that you can complete to indicate what needs you might have at this time. And then one of their staff members will reach out to you with more resources. So if you have those needs, please reach out to them because that's what they're there for. Their main office is located on the first floor of the MU, the Memorial Union, just down the same hallway as the pantry. So please know that this is also a resource that is available to you. So please utilize it if it's something that applies and that resonates.
Again, just some additional campus resources. I won't go over each one of these. I will highlight the importance of advising again. Your major department is probably the office that you might see most often for quarter by quarter academic planning and course selection. We have peer advisors that are available for students, peer support in a variety of offices across campus. And here in the dean's office, we do offer daily drop-in advising. Right now, our drop-in advising is a little bit limited or adjusted from the regular academic year. So take a look at the website to get the drop-in hours. But I want to mention this other piece here, this online exploration tool called the Major Card Sort. And many students might overlook this tool. If you go to the UC Davis homepage and in the search box, just type in the words Major Card Sort, and you'll be able to get directed to a survey, sort of a click-through survey where you are responding to say the things that you're most interested in. This is a great way to explore the over 100 majors and equally vast resources for minors here at UC Davis to see what kinds of things you might be interested in. Sometimes academic difficulty can be a result of maybe a mismatch or just not a really strong alignment, in fact, with with the things that you really are interested in. And so the major card sort can help you see if the major that you've selected actually aligns with the areas of your interest. If you come up with some questions about the majors that are highlighted for you as a result of that survey, you're welcome to talk with that intended major or that major you'd like to explore, or bring the outcome, the output from that major card sort to an advising appointment so that we can talk with you about how to explore that major and how maybe you can explore that side by side with while making progress in your current declared major. I did mention some of those other things about beginning with the end in mind. If you're thinking about the career, if you're thinking about research, if you're thinking about applying for a professional health program or grad school, you may want to talk with those folks to find out, what does my undergraduate experience need to look like in order for me to do this in the future? Sometimes students get a little disappointed or, worried that this one bump in the road is going to eliminate their opportunities for these future pathways, and that's not always true. So by talking with somebody and helping you reset those pieces for your future can be helpful. So those are additional places to get connected with. And then I just wanted to also mention, if you are an international student joining us today, SISS, your main hub for information, is working remotely this summer. So just so you know, although this is where they are at, where they're located during the regular academic year, they are working mostly remotely this summer. So you can use their Calendly to schedule appointments to meet with them. Starting the second week in September, they will be available in person. But use that QR code there to access information with them. And for our international students, oftentimes you all have questions about how does your academic standing or academic options impact your visa requirements for being here in the United States. All those things should be directed to SISS. And, I'll mention also they do have community events as well. So sometimes that's really important for our international students.
I will also add briefly about all of our campus resources and community resources that are identity-based. A lot of times they have free food. So as a student, I remember that I would go anywhere that had free food, especially if that could save me some money, or it could be food that I wouldn't have access to on a regular basis. So definitely take advantage of that. But now let's consider our mindset. So hindsight is always 2020. It's easy to think about the things that we could have done differently. So please reflect back on that. Reflect on the past quarter, any challenges that you faced. What could have helped you to have a different academic situation? What resources could you have used? So for example, you could say using different academic services, using office hours, having a better balance of work and school, or a more balanced course load, taking less units maybe, improving time management with online learning, for example. There are so many things at UC Davis to help you. With so many resources, it can sometimes feel overwhelming to sort through. So come in and chat with us to review the available resources as it pertains to your individual situation. Sometimes it is helpful to talk to somebody about it, so we can make a plan together for success. This can be your wake-up call for change and improvement. Think about framing your situation positively. And don't stay in the past. What's done is done. What happened, happened. We hope that you now have a better understanding of how you came to be on academic notice, what challenges you faced, and what you could have done differently. This is your opportunity to return to good academic standing and be the successful student that you know you are and that we know you are. You have a partnership with us in advising and community resources to support your success. You belong here at UC Davis, so we want to see you thrive.
All right, let's create an action plan. And we want you to be thinking about what community do you need to help you support you with this plan. Although it may be uncomfortable at first to discuss your personal and academic challenges, remember, as Andra said, we are your partners in this journey and we're here to help you succeed. If you have been trying to resolve all these things on your own, now is the time to seek support and allow us to connect you with resources and advising. Maybe we will be just applauding all the things that you're thinking about changing, or maybe we're going to be able to provide another little tool that can help change things and turn things around. We hear lots of things from students as to why they never sought advising or campus resources. Sometimes students tell us in advising that they were worried about bothering advisors or burdening us with with the challenges that you're experiencing. Some students, they just want to do it on their own. Some students may have a sense of shame or feel that they are letting their family or letting themselves down. We may have mentioned that, me in particular, that we're first generation to college students, college graduates. And I personally understand how difficult it was to navigate the university on my own. And I also know how difficult it can be to ask for support or help given familial and cultural expectations. And you don't have to be first generation or to have that experience. However, please know that when you are asking for advice, you are not an inconvenience to us. This is what we're here for. Pride, ego, shame, fear, or even a strong sense of obligation to being independent may be holding you back from achieving success and your goals if you don't use your resources to support you. Students certainly don't set out and plan to be an academic difficulty. And we know that despite this stumble, that you belong here and you can succeed. You earned your admission to UC Davis, and we want to help support you in achieving your goals.
So I want you to think about at least one resource that you can use to help yourself next quarter. As you make your decision, think about how you will ensure that you will use this resource. Consider creating a manageable action plan to help you use the resource that you selected. So please take a look at the poll and answer based on what you have reflected about the challenges that you face, and then the resources that we have talked about today. What are some of the things that you might want to think about further or do differently? It could be, for example, working on improving learning strategies, utilizing study groups or tutoring, like Lily said. A lot of times we want to be independent, but it's a lot easier to work with others sometimes. Also balancing school with work, social life, family, all of those things. Maybe talking to somebody, as we talked about, mental health support. Maybe advising about course selection, as we talked about, having a manageable course load, building community, connecting with resources like Aggie Compass or financial aid. I see also somebody indicated office hours with professors or TAs. Definitely that is a very important resource, especially for classes that are more specific to your major. A lot of times those classes don't have tutoring at the library, for example. So the only way that you will have support for those classes will be through your TAs or your instructors. So it is really important that you talk to them and use them as a resource if you have any questions or if you are running into any difficulty.
Okay, I'll go ahead and end the poll, and then just so everybody else can see what folks had selected, I'll share that really quickly. I wanted to mention the number 7, Aggie Compass or financial aid for support. I'm realizing that a few, some of you had selected balancing school with, other commitments, right? So we hear a lot from students, their financial challenges, and how it plays out is perhaps you are working too much, or you have a strange commuting situation. Sometimes, as Andra had mentioned earlier, in finding food resources on campus, sometimes it's about talking with folks that can help you out, Aggie Compass, the pantry, financial aid, and just finding a way to shift your budgeting, because you only have so many hours in the day, and you need to be able to have enough access enough of those hours for your classes. And so if the grades are not coming out the way that you want them to be, really think about, am I using enough hours towards my studying? Or if I feel like I am, what other resources can help me get better outcomes? And if it's money that is impacting your availability of hours, then you got to talk to folks and strategize on ways to shift things around so that you can find more time to use resources and study for your classes. Okay. Yeah, and thanks for sharing that personal note, Andra, because I too was always thinking about ways to find food to shift, money around so I could pay a bill with this money instead of, buying lunch for myself or something like that. So being economical and using what the campus has to offer for all of it, all of you.
Yeah,
So,
it's already there. Get free
absolutely.
food.
So just want to give you a couple of these next couple slides before we get close to wrapping up. These next couple slides provide some dates and information, so you might want to take some screenshots of this. So UC Davis summer session has already started. Other UCs host summer sessions as well. All UCs offer some online classes. So our dates for summer session 1 and 2 are 6 weeks long. Other UCs may offer different start and end dates, and they might offer more than just 2 6-week summer sessions. So if you are thinking about taking classes, and then more in particular thinking about UC grade points or repeating a UC class, again, if you're repeating any D or F grades, always talk with an advisor about where you're taking that repeat, because there are rules that can impact that based on what class it is and where you're going to retake the course. Community college, you want to use assist.org in order to find out courses that are transferable. And again, thinking about equivalencies, talk with an advisor. And so we want to encourage you to meet with the dean's office and your major to discuss your course options, GPA, repeats, and other topics as it relates to summer, or maybe delaying enrollment until fall. You might benefit from a break this summer as well. So talk that over with an academic advisor. So these are important dates for fall quarter. Like we're so not yet in fall. We're just getting started in summer. But just want to remind you that right now we are still in schedule and Pass One open registration. So if as a result of our conversation today, or because you're going to meet with your major advisor very soon, Pass One open registration will be ending on July 25th. So you have access to continue to adjust your fall quarter schedule until July 25th when Pass One open registration will end. Pass Two appointments will be held from August 18th to August 29th. So check Schedule Builder for your Pass Two appointment time, and then open registration will follow that. The registration freeze when you cannot make any changes whatsoever to your schedule is right before school gets started, and that's September 15th to the 18th. So these dates and deadlines on your screen are specific to once we get started with fall quarter. We always encourage, even with summer as well as fall, that you try to get your schedule settled as quickly as possible. Missing a couple days in the quarter system can be detrimental to that final grade. And remember, if you are not in good standing for grades, then you cannot change a letter graded class to pass no pass. Always consult with an advisor before changing a letter graded class to pass no pass. That's just kind of a good habit to do, because changing a class to pass no pass can have, again, detrimental outcomes that you might not have expected as a result of that.
All right, so let's review. We did a pre-test, now let's do a post-test. We want to check your knowledge about academic probation based on what we discussed. So please respond quickly to the polls that will appear on your screen. This first one is, what is academic notice on the basis of GPA? So it's the same question. The student is on academic notice on the basis of GPA when the quarter and or cumulative UC grade point average is. And I see most folks have answered very quickly. Thank you for that. And the overwhelming majority said B, below a 2.0, but above a 1.5. And that is correct.
Yeah, and
So,
the folks that answered C, you're not entirely wrong. It is below a 2.0, but above a 1.5, because below a 1.5 is subject to dismissal.
Thanks, Lily. And now we will do our next poll. So what is academic notice on the basis of units? So again, in order to be in good academic standing for minimum progress, a student must A, pass at least 15 units each quarter, B, pass an average of at least 12 units in all full-time quarters, C, pass an average of 12 units each quarter, or D, I don't know.
Everybody was fast on that one.
Yeah, so fast. And everybody said B, which is right. Passing an average of at least 12 units in all full-time quarters. Again, if you have specific questions about your individual situation with your minimum progress calculation, please come and see us, and we'd be more than happy to explain that to you.
So, I forgot to check if this QR code works. I apologize if it doesn't work, but our website is up there at the top. I tried to make it easy with the QR code, but I think I forgot to update it. So we have drop-in advising available both in person and virtual all the way through July 18th. We will reopen for pre-scheduled appointments for all students around July 18th, so that calendar will open on that day for future appointments. Right now, we are prioritizing our students that are subject to dismissal, but you can seek a dean's office advising through drop-in. Your major advisors are available for advising as well, so we encourage you, and they know that you will be reaching out to them during this time frame. And then if you've never been to the dean's office, if you're not around this summer, we're here. We're actually here in Marac Hall. We're right next to the upside down egghead. We're located on the first floor next to the elevators. And from time to time, our building can be frequented by, like protests or things. And so sometimes the building may be closed. And so during regular business hours, we will update our website, this website right here, if there are any adjustments to our availability. We also try to post any signs on the front doors as well. But you are welcome to come in and visit us. And since you're here, a little sneak tip, an insider tip is that our in-person drop-in usually has a much shorter wait than our virtual drop-in. So we'll go ahead and come back on camera. I realize we're right at 12:01. So if you have to go, that's fine. If any of you have questions, we'll stick around here for just a little while longer. There wasn't any questions during our webinar today, so that might mean that we just did a really great job, Andra. So, but I did say we would stick around for any questions if anybody had any. So we'll give you just a couple of minutes, like 2.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, everybody. I hope that we answered all of your questions. And if any other questions pop up, maybe, after you log off, you're like, oh man, I should have answered or asked this question, or I did have a question actually. Like Lily said, come see us at the dean's office. It is pretty slow during summer, so we'd be more than happy to see you. So yeah, you have our drop-in hours, and then afterwards, after July 18th, we'll be more than happy to meet you in pre-scheduled appointments as well.
Our email's there on the screen, caesadvising@ucdavis.edu. If you do think of something later, you can also follow our social media. And I didn't see any questions come in, so I just want to thank our fellow advisors for taking time out as well. And we're going to go ahead and log off. Thank you, Andra, and I hope you all have a great summer. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.